Yo, what's up guys? Today we're going to be looking at, I guess, the strongest LMDs from this current collab, which is the Frieren Light and the Frieren Dark. Both of them have pretty interesting kits, but it's also a little bit debatable, are they actually really that good? So that's what we're going to find out in this video. First, talking about the Light one, skill one that the whole family has is this defense break, going up to a 70 chance, definitely not that bad. Skill 2 is going to be the immunity for all allies and a shield proportional to your attack power. It's always a little bit weird to get a shield when you're an attack type kind of unit. Similar for getting immunity. Also, 1-turn immunity is very short, so I can already see a buff potential over there for 2-turn immunity. But skill 3 is where it gets interesting. When attacked during the enemy's turn, offset the damage with a 25% chance, so it is a bit RNG. Reminds me of Manon. If the offset succeeds, attacks all enemy to stun for 1 turn. That is pretty interesting right there. Question is it going to be an accuracy check? Because the base stats are a little bit weird. You have decently high defense, very low HP, and you got a resistance awakening. That makes the whole combination a little bit strange in my opinion. You have a good 105 base though. If we check that for Manon, for example, she only had an offset of 15%, so it's at 10% higher. That's a lot higher. Question is also if there are any multi-hits, or does this trigger multiple times and therefore have a higher chance to getting this skill in? If we're looking at the multipliers, we have a multiplier of a 3.8 on the skill 1 and a 3.6 on the skill 2. This one is going to be AoE though. So let's try out a few builds to see if she works, how she works, when she works. And maybe we'll toy around with this resistance as well. And after that, we're going to be testing, of course, the Frieren on Dark. So I don't have the unit, so I can't test it in RTA, but I can actually test every unit in game over here. And I place them against pretty much a typical, well, the most common units for RTA out there, which is an Inosuke plus an NFL plus a Shio. And all of them are ruined on my RTA build. It has been mentioned that she could be interesting for threat state because she has the one that has to be hit. So throwing threat state on her is an interesting take. However, having this low HP and defense getting a threat state on your attacker type unit feels a little bit odd. On my end, I'm also going to be throwing just RTA style of units next to it. And we're going to go for 2 water units, mainly because then all of these units have equal chance to hit everything and the fire one has more chance of hitting her, just for the idea of it. Wait, let's actually go for Chow and let's add in my Lima, just to have a slight different vibe at it. For simplicity reasons, I will use everything at my RTA build if I can use something at my RTA build, just to keep things easy and kind of an RTA style fight anyways. So for her build, I'm actually not that sure because if you build her a full-on tank, she's gonna get ignored, especially in RTA. In Siege or Arena, you can maybe force her in getting hit by the elements if there's a dark element on your enemy side. But it is kind of a weird way to build her. You don't need a Despair because you're already stunning. Violent is not that interesting neither, because you only would Violent for your skill 1, or maybe your skill 2. So it's definitely an odd unit for a build, but let's first give her a Bruiser hybrid crit rate build and then see where we go from there. Okay, so we're just gonna go for 180 build, a little bit of all stats and everything. Artifact is going to be, I honestly don't know. Let's just go for some crit damages up on like crit damage first and stuff. Definitely want to be going HP on the main because she just is terrible for base HP. Yeah, let's do something like this. And then the relic is just the typical relic. Okay, let's see if this is gonna do anything too interesting against the enemy team. I'm very curious to see. Also, in a form of RTA, if you don't have to hit her, you would definitely ignore her most of the time, right? Well, so we had a derp from you over there. Let's just go for that. Not too much damage. So did it offset? Okay, goes for an AoE hit. Well, especially if there's a lot of AoE hits, then she could be pretty interesting. Okay, we're already getting a good bit of damage ourselves. Well, is it that interesting to go for the healing? Not really. Okay, for the Death Break self-setup Death Break skill 1 into multiple hits on that is actually not that bad. That is actually not that bad. And over here, I think you should go for immunity, but okay, that's an offset right there. The offset damage is not that much, but it's definitely something that I could feel like, yo, we're looking very RNG heavy. It's like if that would offset twice, it would actually do something, but now it didn't, so then it's kind of weak again. It's really weird to have this unit that's a full-on attacker type that you want to get hit, technically. But then if you want to get hit, it's also RNG if you actually do want to get hit or not. Which is just kind of odd. Let's try that again. Let's see where you go for skill 3 this time, bro. I kind of want to start you with a skill 3 on the right side. So let's just reset until we have that exact moment coming in. Just because I want to see like how that skill works with multi-hits. Okay, this get it. if you do get stunned in the process, then yeah. So would you therefore have to go 100 resistance, but then you go 100 resistance and you still might get cucked by just someone being actually high on accuracy? So no offsets over there, razor cut, no offsets over there. That's also one of those things. Like, you could technically get like permanently never offset. Like, sure, 20% is decent-ish, or 25% is decent-ish, but it's not like a crazy high amount or anything, which is definitely one of those things you have to keep in mind as well. So, okay, there we go. One full AoE stun. If she does get those AoE stuns in, it's pretty nice, but she's kind of on a crit rate hybrid build right now, and I already not really feel her damage. Like, the best damage she's done is on a Death Break skill 1, doing about a 10k, which is kind of mediocre, and she's definitely squished in this build, whereas the rune quality is pretty high up there already. So yeah, I don't know, like the shields, I guess it's a decent shield. I don't have the most amount of attack on there, but I feel like she's due for a buff. Like, I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that does for. I will try her out with a team with a threat state after this, and maybe more of a tanky build, and then we go 100 rest. But I feel like this one is already due for a buff, because their skill 1, sure, Death Break setup, but it's not 100% rate. Sure, the S3 is cool, but it's also by chance. It feels very RNG. Okay, so what are the most RTA common style of units for threat state? Well, I guess everyone agrees with the Devil Maiden, aka Irene, being super common. What is your lead? Your lead is 55 accuracy arena. Okay, it's okay-ish, I guess. But next to this, we definitely would need some kind of healer mechanic. We're gonna deal absolutely no damage outside of this Irene S3, I guess. Let's just get the most annoying healer in game. Mr. Gandalf in there. So we're gonna be playing the annoying game. I actually don't even have Irene ruined anymore in RTA, but let's just give it like the typical Swift set that you would do on her. Okay, a little bit more speed than the typical Swift set, but sure. Then on this one over here, though, I'm still not 100% sure on the Vio, though, but maybe Vio for an S2. But let's make more usage of her resistance and remove the crit rate. Okay, so we built her a bit more tanky, a bit more annoying, 100 resistance, bit of accuracy right now, not super fast, but that's already the thing. Like, she has so low base HP that putting good HP to her is just really difficult. Because if we look at the individual runes, those are not bad runes at all. But if we look at the stats, it doesn't look that great. And that is just by the base stats being kind of weird. But let's see if this does anything. I think we're not gonna even go through the damage or go through the healing or anything. I think that we're not even gonna go through healing enough more than the damage they do, and we're definitely not gonna have enough damage to actually do what they do, but let's just take out a few units. That one over there, okay, did not even get an offset on that one. Well, let's go for some protection. Let's throw that on you. Let's throw this on you. We have a shit ton of buffs to work with right now, so that is definitely a thing. No offset over there, no offset over there, no offset over there. That's already threat state gone. No offset over there. Yeah, that's also one of those things. Like, you can offset like 2 times or something with a threat state, but it doesn't guarantee. Okay, there we get AoE stuns. Okay, good, good. Does seem to work thus far. Yep. Chip damage. I think she's definitely RNG and annoying, but is she good though? Like, it's hard to say. Okay, a lot of hits over there. Did get an offset, but did also get stunned. If she's stunned, she's definitely not going to go for her skill 3. So that doesn't really help neither. Let's see if we can actually take all of yo shit. Yes, we do. And then let's just go back to this. Okay, offset, no offset. Do we go over there? No offset. Massive shields, though. The shield actually does kind of work with the Gandalf shield, so you have that back-to-back. So that becomes more of an RTA unit, this style, where you add her into having multiple shields, and because of that, we actually kind of tend to do enough damage. I'm surprised that this team is even winning, but I guess that it is kind of winning with adding in a random stun. We have a lot of shields. The shields work well with the other Gandalf, getting extra things in from shields. So I could even see a team, if you want to go very toxic for a siege battle, you just add the you add the left and the right unit. Well, Irene is still nice for the back and for the damage output that way. That is definitely true. But instead of going for a Irene, you would go for an Angela in the middle. So you're just working on 3 units that actually have shields. And then from there, it's just very difficult to kill anything. There's many cleanses. There's a lot of that kind of good stuff going in. that could be a way that you could play this. That's definitely a thing. And we're actually winning easier than expected, but is it really because of the unit that does the offset and is being tanky and is being annoying? I'm not too sure about that just yet, in all honesty. Like, I'm not really sure if she's like the winning factor, or are the Irene and the Gandalf the winning factor over here? Because that's also one of those things. If she's stunned, she cannot go for an offset. Okay, goes for an offset over there. Offset is nicer for the stun in this build than it is for the damage, because there's pretty much no damage coming in over there. Okay, offset once again, does get the stun once again. Yeah, her damage output is near to non-existing, I would say. Like, we pretty much don't even have enough damage to kill this Inosuke thingy right now, which... that already says a bit. Well, we can land defense breaks. That is a something. So, no offset over there. Let's just keep on going with the damage. Okay, we are on fire. I'm still also not sure if you actually want to put her on fire, because... despair doesn't make sense because she already stuns on the offset skill, and then you're just despairing extra on the skill 1, which doesn't really help you too much. Vio is decent for the moment you want to proc out of something, but it's also not really something too crazy, so... okay, offset over there, did not actually get a stun, and back to full HP, and things go 4 times, and we did not offset a single time. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on this one. This one looks really weird and kind of on the angle of like, oh, should be buffed or has to be crazy RNG. Like, even if you were to say it like, oh, let's put it arena defense because of the offset, it could be super annoying if you go for a nuke and that kind of shenanigans, blah, blah, blah. Well, the big difference was Manon was offsetting on a 15% chance, but it was at least offsetting when all of the units were being hit, and later just their allies being hit. So 15% for an AoE hit is a lot more than just 25% on self. So that's, yeah, it's kind of like a reflex, or like a counter from a Jaeger or a counter from a Leica, but it's only 25% rather than the 50% that these guys do. So does it really add too much? I'm not too sure. And then also the skill 2 doesn't really add to the kit. The skill 1 is pretty decent, but yeah, as you can see, you're really not getting those offsets that often. So is it good? I don't know. I classify her as should be buffed to be good, can be fun, but mainly is very RNG. And I think we can sit there forever and that thing is never gonna die. So let's try out the next unit. So my final verdict on the first looks at the Frieren, I would give her a B tier. Maybe if I see some better teams later on, or maybe if she RNG's crazy good, she could be an A tier. But so far, I don't really see the value for her because her whole kit is just inconsistent. You want her to be hit, you want her to offset, but it's by a low chance, and you have low stats to actually amplify for that. Sure, you have the resistance that could help you with that, but then you have no damage output. Then you have, like, maybe you should be going full attack and stacking your shield by a lot or something. I have really no idea what's the main core idea behind this unit. So B tier it is. Later, I'll definitely be making a tier list of ranking all of the collab units. Then the next one, let's look at this Dark Frieren. Dark Frieren is, in my opinion, one of the strongest because she used to only have a attacks all enemies silence and seal. But they also added a reset attack bar, which is really strong. Because if something is at 120% attack bar, they get reset all the way back to 0. Super strong right there. Skill 2 is also a different skill 2. That is, after attacking, recover your HP by 10% per enemy granted. When an enemy is granted with a harmful effect, you gain attack bar. Really strong. Skill 1, still the same. Also definitely RTA unit, but I could also see this being used in arena offense, siege offense, all of those kind of things. Defense is not so sure, but I'm going to be hitting that same team. So in this case, to keep it kind of an RTA style, I'm actually going to pair it with a Layla. And I'm going to be pretending that I have to outspeed a team like this, so I'm going to get my Asher in there. Your lead in this case is the arena lead on crit, which could be used. So for the build of her, we do have the speeds on these two. The Frieren has to be slower than that Layla. And we already have a bunch of accuracy, so I think I'm just gonna go for a typical fire wheel style on a little bit of bruiser-ish, but mainly fire wheel HP style. And let's just go for additional damage artifacts, mainly for the ideas. I think we take a lot of turns. Oh, she's actually an attacker type. I was kind of expecting this as a support type for like a debuffer type, but let's just give her this. I think that this should be in tune after this. Yeah, that should make sense. We did not fully max out the accuracy, but sure, on normal RTA I would actually, but let's just see how well this works and if this even works in the first place. So we can, of course, outspeed with this. Let's throw some ghosts. Do we also get attack bar gain on you? No, we don't get attack bar gain on you. We did already have 2 seals over there, actually. So now we can play silence, seal, and pushback. We did get a triple resistance on the right. Well, she's 100 resistance, so that makes a little bit of sense, but that's still a decent bit of resistance. So it doesn't work where I get attack bar gain from other allies, but if we go for skill 1 right now, okay, did not land a D. Okay, we did land. Oh, yeah, we did actually land some stuff. Or no, we did not get the defense break, but we did actually still get attack bar gain, I think. So I would have to see how does that work. Okay, so we heal ourselves right there, and we do get attack bar gain as long as we hit anything with some debuffs. That is kind of nice, though. So it is good chip healing, actually. Like the 6k healing every time we hit something, that's not too bad at all. So if we go for this, that is also... Do we heal more? We did heal in 11k because we hit 2 targets right now. So if you hit a full AoE of 4 units, you actually have the potential to heal a lot as well, which is definitely really strong. Cooldown on the skill 3 is a little bit long, so you're not going to have that all the time, but I can see this one being really strong, also having the chance of getting your death break on the skill 1. There's definitely quite some potential on this unit for a lot of different styles, so yeah, that's pretty nice. I kind of like her. Is she per se really crazy good, though? I would say she's pretty solid, but she's not your typical, it's like, oh, the whole team is gonna die because you press one skill kind of unit. But that is a nasty CC, though, because this is technically taking away a full attack bar. It gives you no chance to violent proc. It does mess up things which normally you get countered by if you play some CC. If you play CC, you get countered by Junos, Nobaras, Veromoses. Well, pushing their full attack bar back actually makes her really strong in that accord. So that's definitely one of those things that she has going for her, which are really, really nice. Sure, she's not really going to do the damage to actually kill anything, but I can see her being pretty solid for that reason. I definitely do think that she has more value than some of the others. Would I classify her per se as like crazy OP though? Not sure, because you could also add in, let's say, something like, oh, you were CCing something, but what if you placed in a Theor on your CC? And then that could have also nuked something the living crazy shit out of there. So that's also one of those things, like, she is CC, but she's just mainly CC. Whereas a lot of the debuffs she's placing, such as the silence and the seal, if you have your Layla on Despair and on a seal rune as well, and she's kind of doing the same thing, it's just not having the pushback. So the little bit of chip bruiser-ish healing, I definitely do like it, but it is a little bit selfish. She would be cool if she would heal other units if she was full HP. Then she would be really cool. But then she's also definitely more support type than attacking type, and that's kind of the whole thing with the Frieren Light and Dark. They have a certain style of what they are, of being like an attacker type, where they don't really feel that much of an attacker type. So let's actually try to use her in a cleaving kind of style, and then as a nuke and cleave, let's see if that actually has some more value than this. So then we're gonna go more a siege style nuke. We're just gonna go Galleon, Tiana, and then let her nuke. We got the Tiana in here. I don't care about this artifact for the moment. Galleon on the typical set, and then we have you on, in this case, a style of crit rate, accuracy. Let's also give you a relic real quick. Damage relic in there. So we're maxing out accuracy and crit rate. It's the chunk punk set that I normally use. So let's see if this actually does do a pretty solid hit, or is it something that, yeah, maybe not. Let's see. Thank you, Galleon. Well, let's just see how much you nuke with this. 13k, so you kind of want to have your death break, but at least you do have some mechanics that your other 2 units can pick up pace as well. Let's try that one more time when Galleon is not an absolutely piece of shit. Time to loot. Thank you very much. We still get the additional turn. Okay, so we have a brand on the right side as well, so we can see some proper damage coming in. 26, 32, and the 40k on the brand. That's a pretty substantial hit right there on all of them. Plus, you have a chance for your Tiana to come in right after because of the pushback. But then the big question is this necessarily better than just simply using a Chunk Pung in this scenario? Well, it depends how many fire units you fight. That's just one of those things. But is this per se something that I would really use myself? I could see this being used myself, but it's not necessarily something that I'm like, yeah, this is really the end-all crazy important best way of nuking things, because if something is actually properly tanky, you're not really going to be doing enough damage. And then the thing is also, if you miss the pushbacks, if you miss some of those defense breaks, It is nice that you have some chance of CCing things and that kind of stuff, and you can bruise or fight it out at a later moment, yes. But is it necessarily... Well, you have the bruiser mechanics coming in late. Maybe that kind of fixes things. However, I think overall, she's pretty solid. So my final verdict on the Dark Frieren, pretty darn solid. Probably a very good CC unit, but then again, there are already a lot of good CC units in game. Nevertheless, I'm gonna give her an S tier. I won't give her a double S or triple S tier until I've seen her a bit more in RTA of people actually playing her. But I'm expecting her on an S tier or maybe even double S tier. Because in the end, if we compare it to other collab unit, for example, the Dark Aragorn, the S3 just simply adds so much more damage, plus has pushbacks, plus has slows, plus has cooldown increases. Skill 2, very strong skill 2 as well with defense break, team up of an ally, that kind of stuff. And I would definitely not classify her as stronger than the Aragorn, and Aragorn is already nerfed. Even after the nerf, I still think a Dark Aragorn would be stronger than a Dark Frieren. Of course, kind of depending what you fight, if there's not too much to reset, he becomes weaker, and she becomes a lot stronger. Well, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments which you like best and how would you use them. And also let me know in the comments of which unit should I do next. Thanks for watching for this one. See you as always in the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.